about it, and what you practice is what comes out. So really practice. I tell my students, practice with your roommates, your parents, your friends, your dog, if you can't find anybody. That's good practice. Absolutely. Now, posture is another thing. I want to talk about that. That's nonverbal language, but I could just talk for hours on this, so I'm going to have to hurry. But posture. How many of you grew up? You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you grew up with somebody telling you, hold your stomach in, hold your, shoulders up, back on? Okay. It's too much to remember when you're doing a business transaction, or you're meeting people. Okay. Here's the only thing you have to remember to have great posture. You want to be relaxed, right? But in control. All right, try to imagine holding your head level and touching the ceiling with the top of your head. Your body will straighten up. And you got to be relaxed so that you'll look approachable and so forth, but okay, it works sitting down too, so you might want to try it sitting. Just be relaxed and let your head be level and touch the ceiling at the top of your head. And I'm going to tell you, you look great.
The ceiling's a little high.
And I'll tell you, if you do that in a classroom to the students, they look wonderful. You have to look real quick. Really great. Okay. My 2 tips for dressing for success are: what you wear should be appropriate for the occasion. And the way you know that is by looking at people who look good. Don't just glance at them, but look, see what their tie looks like. Is it a geometric print? Or, look and see, does their jacket match their skirt as a woman, or can they mix and match? What looks good about them? Really study it. And 2 of the best books I know are Dress Smart for Women and Dress Smart for Men, because they're full of illustrations. You can look online, for free. You can Google professional business dress and click on images, and you'll see hundreds of examples. I get my clothes sometimes at Dillard's 75% off or 50% off. I can save them for the next season and many seasons after that. And I tell my students some of the things I wear are older than they are, and that is honest truth. Just take care of them. I went to a consignment shop a couple of seasons ago, and I was traveling and stopped in a little town, and I'd lost a lot of weight and 49 pounds. I tell y'all, free to applause. That's hard to do. But I needed new clothes because they couldn't alter them anymore, And I was passing by and I saw this little house that was a consignment shop. And on the porch, there was a long row of jackets hanging there. And I thought, those jackets, they look pretty good. They're about my style, And I stopped. Every one of them was the right size. And they were $5 each. And they just brought them in. I bought them, and I did have to have some alterations taken in the sleeves. One of them, I paid $25 to have it altered. And somebody said, that's crazy. You bought it for $5. No, it's not crazy. I got a $150 jacket for $30. The first thing is you want it to be appropriate. The second thing is it must fit you. And there's some good tailors and seamstresses here and there. I can tell you if you need them. But you want it to fit you. And we talked about the posture. I'm going to show you about sitting in a chair. If you'll look during the next few days and watch people sit down, you'll be appalled. People walk up to chairs and they look at it like it's going to go somewhere. And they sit down and they're looking the whole time at the chair. Now, is that relaxed or in control? It's not in control. And you see people flopping. Here are the 3 steps to sitting in a chair, and you'll need to practice it. You can go to Walmart, the dressing rooms are small. But if you go to Target or someplace with a bigger dressing room, TJ Maxx, you can look at yourself in the full-length mirror. You get, as you do this. Okay. First step is look at the chair, okay? You see it, it's not going anywhere. Notice if it has rollers. Really? You look at the chair, okay? You walk up to the chair, you know where it is, you see it. You feel the edge of the chair on the back of your leg. You know where it is. You don't have to look at it. Okay, you keep your trunk straight, you just bend your knees and sit down on the front part of the chair. And then you just step 3, just slide back. If it has arms, it's even easier. To get up, you do exactly the reverse. You're in control. I can tell you some stories I read about business people who chose their accountant about how they handled the chair when they went for a job interview. One man who was not chosen looked at the chair, and the woman interviewing him said, just pull up a chair, we're going to talk a while. And on purpose, she'd done that. She put the chair across the room to see how he could handle it. And he stood down and took little baby steps all the way across the room. She said, I'm not going to hire somebody who can't handle a chair to handle my hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't. It definitely does. We'll skip the interaction, but you can practice it. It'll get easier and easier for you. This is my top tip for learning. Besides, it's my favorite hobby. I I'm willing to guess it's your favorite hobby too. Where we are today, we love it so much. International Business Center online, it's on, I don't know if they have the handouts that I've prepared for them to give out, but if not, maybe we'll be able to get some to you. I'm going to, this is, if you'll just Google International Business Center, and on Google, you'll get a top-notch center that you can use in emergencies for clicking on the name of a country, and then they'll have proper gifts, proper topics of conversation. If you're going to lunch with somebody in a big hurry in 2 minutes, and you need to know what the people from China talk about over a meal and don't talk about, if you're going to China or you're giving a business gift to a person from China, do not want to give them anything that's white, like white flowers, or any timepiece. Here we give Southeastern a beautiful, wristwatch, and even the grandfather or the clock hangs on the wall. The gift of a timepiece or of white flowers to anyone from China, things that you wish them here. And there are different colors for different countries of flowers. How are we going to know that? Just are we? And now it's so easy. You don't have to go to the library and look up, books and we can just go online. But I impress my students with the fact that there is no reason not to know those kind of things. It's easy to find out. And if you have interest in finding other centers, just you'll email me. I'll be glad to send you some more links too. Dining event. Okay, here are a few really quick tips. All right, this is Emily Post's photograph of your average luncheon table. Okay, that's what she wasn't every time. But you know what? It's something really interesting about this picture. Now, what is this right here? That's the next place setting. Have you ever been to a banquet when there was a whole lot of room on both sides of you before the next person sitting by you? Usually, and you know what? We think we know which bread and butter plate is ours and which glasses are ours, but it can get pretty complicated. Okay, I made up an acronym that I tell my students, and I see some of them 3 or 4 years later, and they'll say, "Miss Anna, remember slur," because that's the acronym. They remember this. Okay, they can get complicated. I'm going to show you slur. Always look. But SLUR stands for, and how many of you play musical instruments? Some of you do. Okay. If you know what a slur is, a line that connects 2 notes, it means that you move smoothly from one note to the other. You don't chop. Well, this is your slur for dining smoothly. Only it's spelled different. But it's SLLR. It stands for solids to the left, liquids to the right. That's all you got to know. You'll never wonder again. So which bread and butter plate is yours? The one on the right of your plate or the one on the left? Solids to the left. Left one's yours. Which glasses are always yours? Solids to the left, liquids to the right, one's on the right. Now, here's a question. What do you do when somebody drinks out of your water glass? They will every time. Remember, our aim is to make everybody comfortable, make everything smooth for other people. So you just kind of wait. The server comes around. You might say, "May I have another water glass?" The server's not going to say, "What happened to yours?" It happens all the time. And my students love to ask me all these disastrous questions about, faux pas that can happen, and they're always surprised because I always have an answer. So I think I've seen them all. You just move smoothly. Try to make things comfortable for everyone. Oh, what's the spoon for? You know, because you just use it. It's always for dessert. Most students don't know that. It's always for dessert. If you see a spoon and a fork, you're going to have a really good dessert. When you order a business meal, a lot of times, most of the time, the host, maybe he's taking you for a lunch interview, and he's not taking you so you'll enjoy a really delicious meal, right? What do they want to see? Your table manners. And they'll ask you some real challenging questions to get your mind off the path, during lunch. And you're thinking about an answer, and what you do every day comes out. They can't be with you all the times you're entertaining clients. And everybody does these days, whether it's informally or breakfast or lunch or dinner. They want to see how you're going to represent their company. So I tell my students, whether you're sitting at a TV table, you're not going to be eating over the sink. That's what I tell them. At home in a hurry, sit at the TV table, fold your paper towel that you're using for your napkin nicely, and put a mirror in front of you for a while and watch yourself eat. Close your mouth when you're chewing, those kind of things, so they can be aware of it. And I tell them, the host is going to say, "Go ahead and order." Well, you might not know how much you must spend, or you might not have eaten at a Lebanese restaurant before. You don't know what to order. Maybe the menu's all in French. What do you do? Okay? You might say, oh, that's okay, you go ahead and order, but they're not going to do it. So this is what I do. I've never read it, but it works for me every time. You just look at the menu and you say, everything looks delicious. What would you suggest? And they'll suggest something, and it gives you a really good idea about what to do. And I wouldn't recommend eating soup or spaghetti or anything like that. You want something that you don't have to wear the rest of the day. Doesn't be handled. Greg Book by the Post Institute takes everything from the business perspective. Communication skills, I had some slides in here that you would be interested in hearing about, but we don't have quite enough time, I think. It's on gender communication and differences. They're very innate differences. And so many times, I talked to the Association of Governmental Accountants a few weeks ago. There were about 300 accountants there. They were, from that group until youth groups and churches, everybody's fascinated by this. And you think everybody knows. But it's like a light bulb goes off. Men use talk mainly to report. And women use talk mainly to establish rapport, relationships. So when he comes home and she's been waiting to talk to him, it's like, she says, honey, how was your day? And he says, fine. And he goes over and he turns on the TV and he picks up the newspaper. She starts thinking, something's wrong. He didn't talk to me. He wasn't interested in me. He didn't like my new haircut. He didn't like what I said about his mother the other night. Something's wrong, And he's thinking, how was my day? There are a lot of things in that line that we can talk about, and we do in class, in my professional business development class in communication. But they help to explain a lot of differences that we have, so that we may not like every difference, but isn't it wonderful we're different? And we learn to accept and to respect the differences. That's what diversity is all about. And to work with them. We can all give and take a little bit. I had to put this in here, as I said. These are not private, right? Online? No, don't count on it. 67% of employers in a large nationwide survey recently said they go straight from getting a resume, they don't even read it, they start right at the top and they go straight to Facebook. That helps them read through them just like that. They call the cell phone number and they listen to the voicemail message on the cell phone. If you don't answer, they want to see. So I tell my students, go home and fix it. Anything you wouldn't want a prospective employer to see, whether you apply for a job or not. We're professionals. Okay? We don't shout, and we're real careful when we get reply to all. We can go on and on about that. Okay, this is something, my students know that there's a place for your cell phone whenever you go into a restaurant, into a meeting, into any kind of social occasion, and you know where that place is? They can tell you, every one of them, I can tell you. In the trunk of your car. In the trunk. Somebody will steal it, it belongs in the trunk. You can look at the messages later, it'll never go off in church and embarrass you. It won't go off in the attorney's office in the middle of the conversation. If somebody's sitting at the table with me, and this happens, and the person's sitting there and we're talking, and somebody takes out a cell phone and just looks at it under the table real quick just to check, puts it back in his pocket. They might as well be doing this. There's something more important than you at the table. And we have become so, especially young people, they've grown up around it, become so attached to it, It will wait. It will wait. And this, you've got to tell each other too. Don't even think about it. There, in a recent survey, 72% of the people thought they could handle talking on the cell phone or texting while they were driving. I thought they could handle it. You know what? The average time that a person takes his eyes off of the highway to text, it's about 5 seconds. If you're going 55 miles an hour, in 5 seconds you travel the length of a football field without looking at the road. $46,000 deaths during the last 6-year period were attributed to distracted driving and cell phone usage and texting for a large part of that. Lives are so precious. We can pull over, we can wait, we can do it. We just got to train ourselves to do that. We're all leaders. All of you are certainly wonderful leaders. When you influence someone to change the way they think and the way they behave, you're a leader. And our students are, and we are. In our lives, we are. I always show them Albert Schweitzer. And I tell them he's the epitome of professional presence. This man was born a genius in 1875 in Europe, and He wrote 3 books. He was an ordained minister, professor of philosophy at the university. He was a world-famous organist and an authority on the life of Johann Sebastian Bach. And he did all of those things by the time he was 27 years old. He decided to give the rest of his life, since he'd been privileged to study what he wanted, to serving humanity. And he felt called to serve Africa, where there was such widespread malaria and sleeping sickness, malaria, and also leprosy. He went to medical school, started out, and took the 7 years. And he and his wife, after he graduated, sold their beautiful home in Germany, and they moved here to a tiny village, Lambaréné, in Gabon, in French Equatorial Africa. That's a picture of the couple. Their daughter Maria was born there, and after he died, she became a medical doctor and took over the hospital that they built in Gabon. She died 2 years ago, last February. And she ran the hospital all those years. This is the hospital, and it looks a lot like this today. All right, this is water. Why would Dr. Schweitzer build a hospital right on the edge of the land, right on the water? There's a good reason. What would you use the water? Transportation. Bringing medical supplies and patients. They had no other way to get there. Every village usually had somebody with a little boat. And they bring in the people. People who work there would go up and unload the sick patients and supplies, take them to the huts and treat them. Albert Schweitzer used the money that they had saved up as a couple to start the hospital, and then when they ran out of money, he would go up to Europe, not that far from Africa, relatively speaking, and he would give organ recitals. He was famous. And so people in the wealthy groups in the capital cities would pay to come and hear him. After he gave the organ recitals, he told about Lambaréné in the hospital. He was such an effective speaker that they would give large sums of money. He would tour throughout Europe, and he'd take all the money back down to Gabon and use it to run the hospital until they almost ran out and make another trip up. And he did that for years, years, and years. He died at age 90, and he was working in the hospital the day that he died. In 1952, when he was in his 80s, he won the Nobel Prize, not for physics, not for chemistry, not for medicine, or that's my favorite picture of him. He continued to ride. Beautiful place. And this is a research team today. The hospital's still around. Now, when he was in his 80s, a medical school in Europe invited him to give the commencement address, their graduating ceremony. And people from all over, wanted tickets, they wanted in, he was so famous. The graduates kept wondering, what's he going to say to us? Well, he had a very short address, and he said, I want to tell you what the secret to lasting happiness is. He said, only ones among you who will be really happy are those who will have sought and found how to serve. That's the secret of lasting happiness. That's the secret we want our students to know, no matter what field you're in. We acquire material possessions, positions, titles, all these things. They make you happy for a short time, but it doesn't last, because we were created to serve. And when we do what we were meant to do, not only do we help, but we're happy ourselves. Thank you for giving me a chance to serve with you all. I'm so privileged to be part of your family. Thank you.